Hello? That's what it says. Who has read this book? One person, two people have read this book. It was a great book, no? We'll come back to this. I want to talk about two things that I'm sort of fascinated with in terms of trends in society and in the economy. I will give you some biases, okay? So a million years ago, I was in the research business, then I was agency side, then I was client side as a marketer, now I run a P&L, okay?
We got a question.
It is a very different game when you run the P&L, and your job at the end of the year is to walk into your boss's office with a big bag of money. You can't say, but people really like us anymore. You have to say, here is the money that I earned for you this year. And that's going to be at the heart of the conversation here. Okay, so the first thing I'm fascinated with is I think that the North American economy is literally at war with itself. I think it is a civil war right now. Here is one side. You have the income statement economy, okay? These are companies that are still trying to make money and deliver shareholder value and deliver profits. You don't read about them anymore at all. They're not in your LinkedIn feed, or they're not in any of your feeds, okay? On the other side, you have the balance sheet economy, okay? These are the firms that you do read about. They raise a lot of money, and they try to, in the broadest sense, they try to drive engagement, right, with this sort of faint hope that at some point in the future they'll make money. But that's not really what they're worried about, and it's not what they're hyping at all. Here is the problem with that. You can buy advertising with engagement, like sort of like credits, like here you go, like I have some engagement, I would like some advertising, please. You can't buy bread with engagement yet. You can't go to the grocery store and say, here's some engagement, I would like some bread. You still have to bring money, right? And I have trouble figuring out sort of where this goes long run. Okay, here's the next thing that I'm sort of fascinated with, and we've talked about it a lot, and it's the idea of authenticity. And I think, like a lot of the folks that spoke tonight, I think human beings fundamentally gravitate to authenticity. I think if you think about the friends that you hang out with, really the friends you hang out with people that are authentic, right? That are not sort of fake. And I think we gravitate to that. But we live in a super interesting time, okay? So here's some stuff that we've gotten rid of. We got rid of the laugh track. We pushed that out. That's not a thing anymore. We've, by and large, we've gotten rid of like sort of very highly processed food. We buy real food again, right? We got rid of this kind of entertainment, and we go to real concerts again where real bands play real music, right? But, interesting, here's some stuff we didn't get rid of. We didn't get rid of this. Cosmetic surgery and associated practices skyrocketing higher than ever. Business better than ever, okay? We didn't get rid of this. My life's perfect and I'm on vacation all the time and I'm really hot, right? We didn't get rid of that. We didn't get rid of this guy, right? Who wants the world to think that he's really rich. We didn't get rid of that guy. And I thought of another one today. I was at a little cafe, right? You know the stupid fucking mason jars that they give you with the drink in it? You can't drink out of a mason jar. It has a lip on it. It drips down your chin, right? That's not, but we haven't gotten rid of that either. And so I think that we want to live, and we believe that we live in an age of authenticity, but we actually don't live in an age of authenticity. And we're confused. I think, what do we make of this? I think we have trouble with the concept of authenticity now. I think sometimes we know what's authentic, and I think sometimes we don't know what's authentic. And I think sometimes we know and we just don't give a shit. We put up with fake news. It's all entertainment. It's all in one stream. And we're actually okay, this is the weird, we're actually okay with inauthentic if you own it. So owning your inauthenticity is actually authentic. That is really fucked, right? That is, I don't know what to do with that. So how does this relate to influencers? Who sits at the very junction between inauthenticity and authenticity, right? And who sits at the junction between this economy that's at war with itself, and it's influencers, right? That they are literally the bridge between these two worlds, these two fighting factions, and I think that's super interesting. So I promised I would come back to this book. Here was it's not even part of the core story, but it was the thing I remembered from the book. I thought it was fascinating. In the book, there is this sort of native tribe that's part of the story. They have 23 different words for snow. Okay, that I think is applicable here. I think that we use the term influencer to paint with a very broad brush a whole bunch of folks that look nothing like one another. And so, I think my sort of main message here is like be careful, right? Be careful if you're going to get into it, especially if I'm thinking about on behalf of the brand, right? Or if you're with an agency that is representing brands, be careful here. By the way, I did reach out to like a handful of people that are way smarter than me, so I didn't sound like a complete moron tonight. And here are the views I got, right, on influencers from folks that work in agencies for the most part and work with brands. Like, why do you really pay influencers? So one guy in an agency who was here, who's a buddy of mine, said, the influencers frankly know the platforms better than our own employees. They're cheaper, faster, and better, right? I got influencers work really well with kids, okay? They work well in the snowmobile community, which is a super niche community, and so on and so forth. And so all I would say to you is, I'm a fundamentals guy. The fundamentals still matter. A marketing mix still matters. It's great if influencers are part of your mix, just don't have it be your whole mix. Segmentation still like matters a lot. Have you done a segmentation? Do you understand, right? To the point of everyone who's talked tonight, do you understand who your consumer is and how they behave and where they consume media? And if then it lines up, then fantastic. And then I think my final point would be like, understand the part of the economy you play in, right? Like if you're selling like relatively low-priced objects to individuals, you're probably in the sphere that this makes a lot of sense. If you're in services, like the person who comes up to me tonight and says, I figured out how social influencers can work in services, I want to hear that, right? I'm in B2B. Half the economy is B2B, by the way, right? I'm in B2B. I figured out how social influencers are part of my mix in the B2B economy. That I want to hear. I think that would be cool. Anyway, that's what I've got for you tonight. Be aware of the fundamentals.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Awesome. So, questions, Mark? Yep.
So I don't think you are, sorry, my name is Andrea. I don't think you can answer this question because it's also just adding to the same. I'm also B2B, and I'm really curious to see how we can apply influencers and, like some of these other like platforms. I know my audience. I know that they're not TikTok. I know that but is there a way that we can leverage these platforms?
So we're thinking about, so the business that I run day to day is I run an exec ed business, right? Executive education, high-end executive training. Most of my clients would be heads of learning and development, heads of HR for relatively large organizations that have development budgets. So we're building an advisory council of folks that do that and look like that, trying to take their content, which they don't even have yet because they've never thought about producing it, but we'll help them produce it, rebroadcast that on their behalf. LinkedIn is probably going to be the platform, right? And so we're not calling it the thing that we're talking about. That's effectively what we're doing. I actually think it's an advantage that we're not going to call it that. I think as soon as we call it that, trust, dives and the credibility of those folks sort of goes through the floor. But that's how we're thinking about it.
Hi there. I'm not sure if maybe you answered this because we were mic chatting.
Yeah.
But
Hi.
first off, I just want to thank you for your thesis within this because it actually lifts up my spirits and understanding that people understand that the fundamentals still matter, because I am one of those skeptical marketers that have hit that point where I feel like we've diluted, and we've mentioned this word authenticity over and over again by all the presenters, and yet I feel like that word has been diluted and in some ways bastardized, and it wouldn't be responsible for us from a marketing ethics perspective to not acknowledge that. So my question is how are we able to be mindful of this? Because I've also seen the dangerous sides, like we're not going to get into the MLM world, but that is a world that is using influencer marketing in a pretty predatory way. So how do we, one, protect the, I would say from a governance perspective, just what is out there in this definition of influencer marketing, and how can we be more mindful as marketers?
Yeah, good luck on the governance side. Like, that ship is sailed, right? That ship left the harbor and is gone. It's up to individuals here, you know, in their, I think, in their respective roles. What really resonated with what Charlie said is, you know, do you actually know this person? Like, have you even had a 30-second conversation with this person? And is your model such that you can get in and out of an influencer or a group of influencers quickly, right? If it turns out that they're bogus, right? Or if it turns out that during, like this, the space changes so quickly, right? The person that you did the deal with, and it took 6 weeks to get the deal done, right? It's possible for that to turn. And so I think it's just, you got to be really nimble, and you got to be willing to pivot, and you got to be really honest with yourself about the brand either you're with or that you're representing, and how important authenticity is. If we're super honest about it, real authenticity is not important to all brands, right? It's not. But to a lot of brands it is. And if you got to take a long look in the mirror, I think, if it is.
Hello, nice to meet you. I just have a question about your social media, like how much you put on your social media as a budget, and how do you measure how effective it is? And also, you only use the influencer using social media, or you have another main tools for the social media?
Sure. So $14 million P&L, total marketing budget $750,000. When I started, it was all digital, right? I said, like, what's our strategy and what's our mix, and can you, right? It's like, it's digital. What do you mean it's digital? Like, what else do we do? Do we do events, right? Do we do sales, right? Do we do print? Do we? You know, no. We do. So we changed that. How much? So how much of the 750 would be social? In terms of paid, under 50. Okay, and it's because, back to where I started, do I think we have to be present? We have to be present. We're not a credible brand if we're not present on social. Can I draw a straight line between anything on social and even one seat sold? One seat for us is $3,500, okay? No, zero. I cannot draw a straight line, and my agency cannot draw a straight line between the spend and the big bag of money that I need to take my boss at the end of the year. So we're careful with it.
So listen, thank you very much. That's amazing.